Live. We're live. What's up, guys? It's the most trash show on YouTube, Garage Goons, episode 22. Obviously you clicked on this for the headline. Periea Izzy twice already. Does it matter? Does it matter? We're gonna get into it, but we're gonna talk about kind of the crossover between kickboxing and slash Muay Thai, slightly different rules depending on what organization, if you fight for Glory, if you fight for M1, if you fight for, there's plenty of really big time striking only organizations. Some allow trips, some allow, elbows and stuff like that. Other ones don't. So we're going to get into all that. But I want to talk about Alex Periea. Guys, I was wrong. I thought Sean Strickland was going to go in there, was going to show him, hey, this is how you do MMA, homie. I know how to grapple. I know how to strike. I know how to push your ass up against the fence if I need to. I can go Greco-Roman. I can go jiu-jitsu. I have top game, and I can slug them out, bang them out. These are 4-ounce gloves, homie. And, we're in a cage now. We're not in a ring. It's a different deal. And I think conventional wisdom says the MMA guy beats the striker, right? We've seen this time and time again where everybody loves a good striker. Let's be honest, the easiest way to gain a fan base outside of being able to talk shit and being funny and personable and have a good charisma and a good mouthpiece is being able to knock dudes out in fantastic fashion. All right. You're not going to set the world on fire and gain all the fans by, fighting like, I don't know, old George St. Pierre, where he's blasting double legs and laying on guys. You're not going to gain a bunch of fans by being Randy Couture and just Greco-Roman wrestling guys up against the fence. I mean, you can win that way. It's very effective. But the classic story with Colby is that guy was undefeated for a while, and the UFC was ready to cut him because, hey man, listen, you're just not a draw. You're a problem for us because you're getting, contenders out of here, but you're just taking them down and proving you're a better wrestler. Thanks. Okay. The UFC has moved past the UFC is so deep in talent that it's moved past the point of saying, okay, we just need the best guy. I got news for you guys, man. The UFC has cut the best guy before and sidelined the best guy before, and they've been just fine. Okay. Gegard Mousasi, right? I actually think he's an exciting fighter. At the time that they got rid of Gegard Mousasi, you could make an argument that he is the best 185er on the planet at the time. It was either him, Yoel Romero, or at the time, Izzy hadn't come up yet. Maybe Chris Weidman or Luke Rockhold or one of these other guys, right? I mean, Bisping was the champ, but like when they cut Gegard at that time, he was capable, I think, of beating anyone in division. And as a matter of fact, he went on to Bellator and just went ahead and got 2 belts. No problem. So that's something to consider, like the UFC is obviously all the guys in the UFC are good. I have news for you. Anytime you see a guy that looks like a can in the UFC, that guy's beating 90% of the other guys in any other organization. It's only in the UFC where you see once in a while lopsided fights where a guy just shouldn't be there. And that's because he probably was dominating and, they scouted him in whatever small, King of the Cage, LFA, one of these other smaller feeder organizations that feed the UFC and Bellator. And he was killing it. And, when you step up to the big league, some guys shine and some guys fold under the pressure. The UFC doesn't need you to just be good. It's not enough anymore to just be good. You have to be good and a draw. Okay. Otherwise, you're a guy that maybe they sign if somebody pulls out of a fight. maybe they'll give you a spot on the early prelim if somebody, if a fight falls through and they just need to fill up space, but outside of that, they're not in a hurry to book you, man. They don't have to. There's too many stars. There's too many exciting guys in here. And so naturally, Alex Periea comes in, and the only thing, at least that I heard about him, and I think that most people heard about him, is that he beat Izzy twice at kickboxing. Nobody bothered to watch the fight. I'm guilty of this. All I saw was highlights, bro. I Googled Alex Periea. The first thing that came up was Alex Periea versus Israel Adesanya, and it showed Izzy getting knocked out. I saw a 30-second clip. That's all I saw. I need to go back and look at those fights again. But actually, I saw one of the fights. I can't remember if it was the first or the second, but Izzy was doing a really good job of controlling. That's what the term would be, ringmanship, right? So he was controlling distance, he was engaging when he wanted to. But the difference between these two gentlemen is, I would say, Izzy has better footwork and Izzy is better at controlling distance. And Alex is a counter puncher. And so when you're the guy that has to be faster and has to be in and out and taking perfect angles, it's usually because the other guy can knock you out whenever he wants. And that's exactly what happened. So does it matter? Because they're not kickboxing anymore. It's a new world. Alex Periea is in the UFC. It looks like he's here to stay. He just starched Sean Strickland, which, guys, Sean Strickland's a very underrated fighter. Okay. This guy's a dog. This guy brings the heat. He does it ugly, which is why a lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves, because it's not like watching prime John Jones or Anderson Silva. It's not artful, but hey, man, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And just because Sean Strickland isn't throwing back spinning wheel kicks and, flying knees and stuff like that, he's just gutting it out and blasting guys in the face with meat and potatoes, straight punches. Well, it's worked pretty good up until, a couple weeks ago when they fought. So I say all this to say, I think Alex Periea is the real deal. And he beat Izzy twice, knocked him out, guys, knocked him out. Does it matter, though? I think a lot of that I think a lot of questions, obviously all the questions will be answered when they fight, right? We'll learn everything we need to know. But I would say that no matter how confident you are as a man, there's no way you can be 100% secure about doing something if someone has got you before. You know this feeling, man. You know this feeling. If let's say you went to the park and played pickup ball, and then you played this guy one-on-one, he beat you like 3 times in a row. You could come back 3 years later, have a growth spurt, be a better ball player. You get picked first on teams, but something inside of you is worried a little bit, at least a little bit, no matter how much improvement you've made. Something inside you is like, man, this guy beat me before, though. Even if circumstances change, that still sits in your mind. And I think that we will learn more mentally than physically. Like, of course, styles make fights. And guys, I don't think Periea is, I doubted him before. My mistake. My bad. But we don't know anything about Periea except for he can bang, except for he has elite level strike. He's world-class striker. We know this, but you never really know until you see a guy with a really good wrestling background who knows that he wants to do to you, and see if he can take those double leg shots, those riding the leg and pushing them against the fence and working for trips, working for wizard, working for judo throws, working for trying to get them to the ground. That is That's always a question you don't know the answer to until you see it, right? Like Conor McGregor, everyone thought he was unbeatable, but then, Nate Diaz kind of exposed him on the ground, and everyone said, well, he took a kick to the head. He was getting blasted as he was disoriented. But what did you notice after that? Okay, in the rematch, he edges out a victory over Nate, right? But after that, everyone said, okay, this guy is human. Okay, so we can take him down and we can win fights like that. So obviously, guys like Khabib, well, Khabib's a different animal. He did the same thing to everyone, and it didn't matter who you were. But other guys that fought Conor, the guys that were able to take him down, or at least threaten the takedown, like a Dustin Poirier, those are the guys that are having success against him. But Conor had that air of invincibility for a while, man. When he beat Aldo, he moved up, and he beat Eddie, right? And you know the whole thing with RDA happened, and they weren't able to fight. He until he fought Nick, and Nick kind of showed you, okay, you can get this guy to the floor, and you can, he's not a jiu-jitsu savant. It kind of opened up Pandora's box, because not only did it show, okay, this guy has some work to do in the ground game, but also it showed that, more importantly, he can be beaten. And what that does also to the psyche of the fighter, only that fighter knows. But when you lose, and you lose a certain way, it's really, really, really hard to overcome that insecurity that you have. You could be drilling takedown defense all day long, but I got news for you, bro. If you come in there and you think you're going to stand up and just do your Muay Thai and Western boxing with a NCAA All-American wrestler, you got another thing coming, man. It is what it is, man. These wrestlers from the US and the NCAA system, and these Sambo guys, which is basically the Russian equivalent, they're on a different level as far as being able to implement their game plan, because you can have guys that are still learning striking, but if you can get somebody to the floor, it negates everything else, right? On the feet, there's so many moving parts, so many different factors that you have to worry about, because like in the example before, Izzy was beating Periea from what I remember from one of their fights, and then he gets caught and it's all over. You can get caught in submissions with wrestling, but a lot of these guys, they already have an idea, a basic fundamental idea of leverage from wrestling. So you go to a couple jujitsu classes, and all you really need to learn is how to defend submissions. I know it's a little bit easier said than done, but when you have a pedigree of an elite level wrestler, short of a couple things that you might be susceptible, like heel hooks and the occasional triangle, you can stifle a lot of stuff. You can, because you understand leverage. Even if you don't know if a guy's trying to get an omoplata to you, you can feel the unbalance coming, and then your instincts and your fast twitch muscles are that much quicker on the ground, so you can implement a counter to that. We haven't seen any of that with Alex Periea. And another thing we haven't seen is he put on a dominant wrestling clinic yet? Why would he? I'm a world-class kickboxer, man. I'm throwing whatever I'm doing. When he gets in a rhythm and he does what he wants, it's masterful. It's reminiscent of Anderson Silva. I still think Anderson Silva is the best 185er all time, but that's another conversation for another time. But there's certain guys that are just specialists that when you see them in their element, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when Khabib gets a hold of you. It's a matter of time. It doesn't matter when Israel Adesanya starts getting his timing down. He's gonna piece you up. It doesn't matter, when you're fighting against prime, Chael Sonnen, he's gonna double leg you to death, and he's gonna make sure you don't go anywhere. GSP, same thing. It doesn't matter. None of it matters, because you can negate almost everything on the ground if you are a dominant wrestler. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule. I know Chael Sonnen got triangled. Okay. I know Brock Lesnar got heel hooked. I know there's exceptions to the rule every time, but exceptions prove the rule, right? So we don't know, but I don't think Izzy is the guy. If Izzy's game plan is to go in there and wrestle with Alex, I think that's a mistake. Because if Izzy goes in there and says, "This is MMA now. You can't turn this into a striking clinic. You can't rely just on counter punches. You can't rely on the different rule set that we were fighting under before with the big gloves and everything else. I can grab you now. I can control you better." If he takes that approach and he uses the things that, if we're being honest, wasn't his bread and butter and what makes him so great, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, if he doesn't use that, or excuse me, if he does use that, he is showing his hand. What do I mean? I mean that he is admitting from round one that psychologically he is still in that same, he's still letting his insecurity of being knocked out by this guy twice. So it's a legitimate insecurity. It's a different sport. We get it, but a lot translates over. It's like track and football. You know what I'm saying? If you're a running back and in the off season of football, you're also running for your whatever college, you're doing 100 or 200-yard dash, there's a good chance that you're a really fast and good running back, but not all good running backs are sprinters. Do you see what I'm saying? The skill translates over. Speed always translates over to football. But the best running back all time, Barry Sanders, barely ran a 40-yard under 5 seconds. But ask how he played on the field. It was something different, man. That guy's an animal. So what I'm saying is you don't take it with a grain of salt. You take it pretty serious. But you can't just say, look at this. This happened in this scenario, so therefore it will happen again here. So you need to, it factors in. All of it factors in. You got to take it into account. But if Izzy goes in there, hunts takedowns, he's trying to clinch up all the time, he's trying to sweep the leg and stuff, Alex is already going to have a mental edge. I have 5 rounds of fighting this guy, and I already know he's scared of these hands. What I have here, he has no answer for. He doesn't even want to see. He doesn't want to find out. He doesn't want to show that, my striking has improved. I have moved on to this other sport, and my striking is better now than it was when I was a kickboxer, especially tailored for this sport. That's a very big possibility. There's nuances in MMA that you don't have. For example, the open palm glove to where you can grab things. So, you see John Jones do this a lot. He controls the hands. He comes over the top with an elbow. That's a technique you don't see in kickboxing as much because you can't grab with those gloves. Back spinning fists in MMA are much more effective just because, again, 4-ounce gloves and, it's you can hide it a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? It's a more devastating technique. You get hit with a 12 or 14 or 16-ounce gloves in kickboxing, and you might be able to take 1 or 2 of those on the chin. In MMA, you see guys that never get knockouts ever. If they land flush, they put the guy's lights out. You see it all the time. So I think it really depends on Izzy's mentality. If Izzy says, I'm going to go in there and be well-rounded, I'm going to take what he gives me. If he wants to stand tall with me, yeah, I'm going to strike with him. But if he overcommits, I'm going to shoot a takedown if it's there. And if not, I'm happy to strike with him. Then I think Izzy wins. But if Izzy gets prideful and just wants to kickbox with this man, I think Alex wins. And if Izzy is too fearful and over respects his opponent, because you can't over respect. You could give your opponent too much respect. You see this where a lot of guys are looking at their opponent, and you're like, what is going on? You're so much better than what you're showing right now. It's because they're thinking more about what they can do to them than what they can do to their opponent. They're thinking more about their opponent and what their opponent's capable of than what they are capable of themselves. That shows a little bit of insecurity and a lack of confidence, which every fighter, I don't care what anybody says, every fighter has an insecurity and doubt in them. That's why they go in there and perform. That's why as a fighter, you're constantly trying to prove things to yourself and to other people, but that's less important. It's mostly to yourself. Every fighter is insecure. Some fighters have more confidence than others, and some are actually better because they're insecure. You know, um, a lot of guys talk about fighting scared and it works for them. Other guys hear stories about Chuck Liddell where he's just in the back taking naps before the fight. And that's another style too, but every fighter knows they can be beat. In this sport, everybody can be beat. So does it matter? It does. It matters. And styles make fights, guys. Izzy's not going to turn into Robert Whitaker overnight. Okay. He's not going to be this guy that's going to be the quintessential mixed martial artist where the guy you think of when you think of UFC, able to get takedowns, gritty, throwing, uh, conventional boxing strikes and leg kicks and shooting takedowns and really mixing it up. That's not Izzy, man. Izzy is built of a mold of a kickboxer, and he has tailored his kickboxing game to MMA. He didn't train MMA, become a mixed martial artist, and just have this like mishmash of all these disciplines. He centers his game. He knows his strengths, and he centers his game around it. But we've seen what happens to him when he fights, a muscle bound, strong wrestler, right? I mean, granted, Jan was way bigger than him, like way bigger. I'm pretty sure he didn't even hit the 205-pound limit, Izzy, and Jan was in there probably like 230 the night of the fight, 225 something. Big boy, right? So he was able to wrestle him and control that whole fight. So, but that's not Alex Periea. Alex Periea beat Izzy another way in another sport. So how much has Izzy's confidence grown since then? How much does Izzy think that the outcome will be different? He said something to the fact like he was trying to be cool. I thought it was nerdy as hell, man, because he said, "Oh, well, I had you on skates looking like Elsa and you're going to be frozen." I don't know, some stupid shit, man, but whatever. I mean, maybe the kids thought it was cool. I don't know. He's always trying to make hip references that I'm like having to Google, like, who is Naruto? What is this character he's talking about? Like, Izzy's like the coolest nerd on the planet, but that reference totally missed me. I think what he was trying to say is because I was beating you before you knocked me out, you won't be able to withstand the barrage of punches with these 4-ounce gloves that I put on you in the cage. So like you can hit harder than me. He almost was saying, yo, you can hit harder than me, but I'm so much more accurate and quick than you that you won't be able to get your big shot off because I'm more skilled than you. You just might have more natural ability as far as one hitter quitter power. But my skill alone will be able to outdo you because I know that once these hands get on you, you won't be able to recover. You won't be able to take it this time because there's less padding in the gloves. I can kind of see that argument, but at the same time, he can't say that out of one side of his mouth and out of the other side of his head think like, man, this guy that cleaned my clock with big pillows on his hand is going to also have 4-ounce gloves. Like he can think all he wants. Oh, I'm going to pepper in my shots. I'm going to take better angles. I'm going to be better than this guy. But when you know the guy across from you is a straight killer that already has a record of knocking you out, that's a lot to overcome. And let's be clear too, like Izzy was winning that fight, but it wasn't like some domination. Alex was getting in shots too. And so you figure, okay, Alex hits harder. He wasn't getting in as many shots as Izzy in the kickboxing match, at least the one I saw. But when it counted, the shot that landed shut the lights out. Well, okay, so let's say that big shot doesn't come, but now those 75% shots that he was landing, let's say he landed one for every two that Izzy landed, maybe he can take two of Izzy's, but I don't know if Izzy can take one of his. We don't know. We will find out, guys. But I think styles make fights, and I think I think if Izzy wins this fight, the story's too good. They're gonna want to see. They can already build in the rubber match, the grudge match. They can already sell that because Izzy's kind of lapped the division. The talks of him moving up to 205 kind of died down after the Jan performance. Because let's be honest, Jan's not even the champion right now, and he starched Izzy. Like that was not a competitive fight. So the talks of him moving up to 205 have died down. You know, remember when Izzy was like, "Yeah, I'm the best 185er and 205er on the planet," and he never fought at 205. First time he fights. Granted, Jan's a beast, but Jan's not even the champion or the champion before this champion. He's like 3 champions ago. So when you consider that, like, I just don't know that Izzy has the stuff to come to be a legitimate guy to win the belt at 205. I think there's too many monsters there and they're just too big. I think physics takes over. He's not the biggest middleweight anyways. Periea a big boy. Periea, I feel, could fight at 205, but again, we don't know anything about Pierre's ground game because we don't know anything about that until people are put in that position. We haven't seen it. We've heard that he's, got really good jiu-jitsu. We've heard that he's a savant on the ground. I've heard that about a lot of guys, and then see them get put on the ground and then they get pummeled. So, we know how good the Diaz brothers are on the ground, but also what happened when Nick fought GSP. You didn't see much jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of one-sided. So, and same thing with Nate, with not even that great of a wrestler, and Jorge Masvidal just got on top of him and was raining down shots, and Nate couldn't implement any jiu-jitsu attacks. So, yeah, it's a lot of factors floating around, but I don't think Izzy's going to be, styles make fights. If Alex was fighting a pure wrestler, if Alex was fighting a guy like, I don't know, let's say there's not like a whole lot of really standout wrestlers to me right now at 185. Yoel Romero is the guy that comes to mind, but he's no longer around. So, I mean, I guess Vittori would be one of the better. Brunson, Vittori, Robert Whitaker. I think all of those guys actually have a better shot at beating Alex Periea than Izzy. And I'm not saying Izzy doesn't have a good shot. I think it's a coin flip with Izzy, and I think those guys would be more favored simply because they could take him down. But I don't know. We don't know. Maybe he's a savage, bro. He's big as hell, so maybe he can just moose his way out of takedowns. But Alex Periea is the real deal. That type of power he has, oh my God. We're not talking about a guy that hits you, the guy drops, he kind of starts to recover, and then he just jumps on him and just, no, we're talking about when this punch lands, before you hit the ground, you're going to be night-night. You're going to be in a deep REM sleep, and daddy already read you a lullaby and tucked you in. You're out. That's the kind of power, and that's a scary thing. Everybody in the UFC can knock guys out, but not all knockouts are created equal, okay? It just looks, when certain guys do it, when Quentin Rampage Jackson lands clean, okay, when Dan Henderson lands the H-bomb, when Anthony Rumble Johnson lands whatever the fuck he lands, there's certain guys where it's just like, ooh, God, yeah, I don't know, man. That looked bad. And then other guys, like I said, everyone in the UFC can get knockouts, but not all knockouts are created equal. Alex Pereira has the kind of knockout power that is frightening. Sorry, guys. Frightening. And I would honestly say Izzy doesn't have that kind of power. Izzy's strength is in his pinpoint accuracy and the angles he's able to take. And the tool bag he has. I think Izzy might have the deepest tool bag in the striking department in all the UFC. It looks like he's so fluid with it. He just kind of throws what he feels. You know what I'm saying? It's not 1, 2, 3. He's throwing whatever. He's in the matrix a lot of times, man. He's seeing all the openings and hitting those things however he wants. Might be a push kick to the solar plex. It might be a back spinning kick. It might be flying knee, whatever. It might be Superman punch. It might be back spinning. He's got it all the tools. And that's why he's, in my opinion, one of the most popular fighters right now in the UFC. But is it enough to beat the guy that's knocked you out twice? And where is he mentally with that? We know he's going to talk better shit in a press conference because he's been here longer. He's more recognizable. He's more in tune with the young fans. And that's just kind of Izzy's game. And also Alex Pereira speaks Portuguese, right? He doesn't speak much English. So, but even though it's not the same sport, it is a big factor saying, hey, man, I knocked you out twice. We can talk about whatever we want. That's like being the annoying guy with the one up, with the actual real life one up, not the fake, humble brag one up. That's like, yo, I just got the facts here, bro. I'm going to sit here and let you know I knocked you the fuck out. And I can do it again whenever I want. I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a chess match, and I think we will see a striking clinic. I don't think Izzy's going to try to really mix it up and prove he's a refined mixed martial artist now, not just a kickboxer. I think he's going to kickbox with him, and I think he will look for openings if they're there to shoot a takedown, but it's not like he's going to be working for the takedown. If Alex overcommits and he gets underneath him and is able to get his hands around him, okay, we see from there. But yeah, man, it's the age-old matchup. It's what we love to see. It's what we wanted to see. We wanted Rumble Johnson versus John Jones. We love the powerhouse versus the technician who wins. And the reason why we love it is because we get new answers all the time. Sometimes dudes just get knocked the hell out by the powerhouse, and other times the powerhouse gets pieced up. It constantly changes. Who's evolved? Who's more ready to win now? Even with the history. In the present, the champ is Izzy. In the past in kickboxing, the champ was Alex Pereira. Twice. It's going to be a good fight, man. And the history does matter, but it's not everything. All right, man. Thanks for tuning in. Garage Goons, episode 22. The most trash show on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to check out my Instagram, whatever. It's not really related to the channel, but, your boy _ Tyler 118 at Instagram. And yeah, man, have a good night. And let's see what happens with this middleweight division, man.